I mean, you're getting a lot of bad information that's killing people, and those people should be put in jail.
Uh-oh. Okay. Shawn Baker, you need to be put in jail.
That's
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're talking about something pretty serious. I was about to do a video on a different topic altogether, but this came up and another video came up which concerned me greatly. I can't put into words how much it concerns me, but the first video I want to do a reaction to is Shawn Baker saying that they want to arrest me for my diet. And the second video I'm going to go into is for Mikhaila Peterson regarding the health of her father. And I'll explain why that's pertinent after we go over this one. But let's take a listen to this.
All right, apparently I am public enemy number one. Now this is based upon the people that basically want us to eat bugs and soybean gruel for the rest of our lives. This is, the folks that are involved in what's called the Eat Lancet Commission. Now these are the people that have developed the so-called diet for planetary health, which is basically pseudo-vegetarian diet where you're allowed to eat something like 2 eggs a week and a few molecules of red meat. It's some ridiculous diet, and it's interesting.
In addition to that, don't forget the engineered meat, the fake meat, because that's a part of most of these organizations that push this kind of thing. They're pushing the fake meat, so which they make a lot of money using cheap crops to make the fake meat. So you got to keep that in mind.
Myself was named as number one of the top 20 or 25, and in that list include other folks that you may know, like Nina Tykos, Ken Berry, Frederick Lavoie. This is, a little bit disturbing. Now, for instance, some of you guys remember that I've had sort of people that are critical of my nutritional beliefs saying that I should be thrown in jail. We have an example of Dr. Joel Furman a few years ago on a particular podcast saying that I should be put in jail because I'm telling people to eat meat.
I mean, you're getting a lot of bad information that's killing people, and those people should be put in jail.
Uh-oh. Okay. Shawn Baker, you need to be put in jail.
That's right.
We've seen a debate I had with a particularly unhinged.
This happens a lot. He's not the only one saying things like that.
Wacko vegan screaming that she's going to be the one that puts me in jail.
You're advocating because I'm not willing to change my position. I should be jailed.
You should be in jail, and I will be the reason for that being illegal. Speciesism has to end. It's just like racism towards animals. Not being vegan is not okay, and Shawn Baker is an animal user.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
And,
I would not have thanked her for that. I'm just saying, speciesism really is everything an ism. All you got to do, you can make up a new word. All you got to do is just put ism on the end of stuff and you're good. You can make up an entire hate group by just adding an ism, adding that to just use the English language. I would not have been so gracious to that whack job. And yes, she's a whack job. These people are mentally unhinged to act the way they do. If you want to be vegan or you want to be a vegetarian, that is your choice. And I know plenty of people that are not insane, but that chick, not one of them. So just saying.
While I kind of don't really take these threats too seriously, we have to realize that, when people start painting you as this evil villain, disinformation, misinformation specialist that deserves to be put in jail, and some people will act on that. And we've seen that recently with some of the stuff that's been going on in the news, and I won't go into that in detail, but it's safe to.
If you have mass campaigns to demonize groups of people, you can cause problems by doing that, obviously. So that's what he's talking about here.
To say it's somewhat of a disturbing trend. What I've been trying to do, and in many ways I've been successful at it, is basically help people with their health. Help people overcome disease, get healthy. I'm a huge believer in eating whole, nutritious food. I obviously lean towards meat as the main sort of thing. I don't sit there and say everybody needs to be on a carnivore diet, but I think it can be very useful for many, many people, and it has been. And also I'm obviously big on exercise and sleep, and all these things that most people would agree with, I think. But the fact that you have this group that wants to come out there and say this is the only way that we will accept that you will eat this pseudo-vegan vegetarian diet and you will be happy about it. Remember, these people are funded by groups like the World Economic Forum and some of the actors that are around that. Perhaps some people would say less than pure motivations, right? So these are things we're having to deal with, and they have.
Yes, because we are cutting into their bottom line, basically. If you have people who eat, even people who eat whole foods, like even people who get away from the processed food, or say they are just animal-based, carnivores, ketovores, people who are eating clean foods and fixing their health, this is hurting their bottom line because this is a pipeline. You've got the food industry, which feeds the people get sicker and sicker and sicker, and then they are going to the medical industry, and the medical industry works with the pharmaceutical industry because God knows nobody does anything but, offer you a prescription nowadays. So it's all huge business, and I mean more money than God type of business. So when you have that type of power and influence, it can get kind of dangerous if you go up against that, obviously. Anybody that thinks that it's not a huge conglomerate of power is naive. And being naive is dangerous, in this day and age. You've got to understand what things are. To believe that this entire industry is saintly and moral is naive, and it's just wrong. I have people in my family that still believe that for the most part. And one of them, a family member, is suffering from Crohn's disease. And she's worried about, right now, she's taking a drug that hurts her immune system, Humira, and I don't know that it helps as much as it should. I think it helps some, but to mitigate symptoms, not to cure anything. And she actually is overly concerned right now because she has a higher cholesterol. And she believes, quote unquote, she said, well, if I go on a carnivore diet, my cholesterol is going to shoot up so high, and I'm worried about that. You're not worried about this drug that you're taking, but you're worried about a cholesterol value, and you don't understand how cholesterol really works. You don't understand the differences between LDL and HDL and the different lipoprotein particle sizes, and you don't understand metabolism, but you believe everything that you've been told. All of the stuff that was started in the 70s with the demonization of fat, and so that sugar could get a pass.
A lot of power behind that, and they in many ways manipulate the media. They manipulate even some of the science, and so we have to deal with that. So it's something that's kind of interesting and disturbing. My friend Frederick Leroy, who's a scientist out of Belgium, has written some of this stuff up, and what he discovered was that the reason they're doing this is back in 2020 or so, 2019, when they tried to push this Eat Lancet diet on the planet. It was resoundingly shut down as something that would be nutrient deficient. They lost the public battle in large part due to, folks like myself and others that were saying this is just not acceptable. This is not what we're going to do. So they're getting ready to roll out their second version. And so what they're trying to do is in advance smear all of us that would be critical of that, so that our voices are, somehow discounted as these crackpot crazies that don't know what they're talking about, conspiracy theorists, and so on and so forth. That's not the first time I've been had to overcome stuff like that. And so what we'll see is an attack on freedom of speech in some regards around this stuff. You will see people being, shadow banned and their voices being muted and muffled. That's something I've dealt with for honestly a decade now. It's sometimes a little frustrating when you see other messages being amplified. If you're out there selling the garbage junk food, you get promoted with a lot of force behind it when you're trying to do the right thing. So this is something that we need to fight back against. Also, some of you have said that this is something you should be proud of. Being named on the top of the enemies list for.
Yeah, if you get flack. Isn't that what they say? If you're getting flack, that means you're right over the target. So he's definitely right over the target. And this topic is right over the target. It's hitting home. It's healing a lot of people. And it's opening eyes. So he's absolutely right about that. He should be proud because he is making a ruckus. However, we need to be really worried about this. This is something to be worried about. Just saying.
These people that have this goal of having us all eating bugs and soybean slop. And, I'm certainly happy that I have made a difference, but at the same time, it's a little bit disconcerting to think that there are people that are targeting you. How far they would be willing to take that is unknown, and particularly in this day and age. So
no, it's not really unknown how far they would be willing to take it, because power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely. Just remember that.
I'm not going to be silenced. I'm going to continue to speak what I feel is the truth, and hopefully we can have a scientific and adult-like discussion around this. And if you disagree, you're welcome to disagree, but the results are what they are. I mean, what I'm talking about has gotten a lot of people results, and I'm sure you folks that are watching this, and I'm sure inevitably there'll be comments around this saying that we are helping people, and I think that's at the end of the day. I personally don't care what you eat, as far as that's concerned. And that's obviously the major area of contention around me. I like, as a physician, and remember, this is what my profession, is, and why I went into medical school, was to help people get healthy. And if you get there through X, Y, or Z diet, it doesn't really matter. It just matters that you get healthy. And the fact that we find these diets that seem to be very efficacious, and a lot of people want to shut that down because it detracts from their ability to profiteer off of your illness. These drug companies and some of these hospital systems, they like you being dependent upon this. First of all, I think it's important that you should.
I mean, I took a narcotic pain reliever for 17 years. I mean, think about how much money that made the industry. 17 years, not just the medication itself, but actually going to the doctor every 6 months because I was taking an opioid. I mean, that's ridiculous. And you feel like, I remember feeling like during the pandemic, I was like, oh my God, because a lot of drugs were made in China and there was a shortage. I was like, oh my God, what if there's a shortage of this drug? And I wouldn't have been able to function because I hurt so bad all over. I would not have been able to go to work every day. So that's, that's dependence. And I didn't have to do it. And the only thing that corrected that was the carnivore diet. That was it. The carnivore diet, eliminating all the junk and getting the right nutrition, stopped me from having to take that. I was dependent for 17 years, and it did not have to happen.
Share our messages. If you like what we're saying, share our messages that we put out there on social media. That goes for myself and any of the other folks that are trying to get these messages out there. Also, if any way you can support what we're doing, like I said, and I've mentioned this, and I know some of you guys are probably tired of hearing about this, but this is kind of my life's work at this point. Our company Revero, we are reversing people's disease. We're taking care of their metabolic health. We're doing it in a way that is not only helping people tremendously for sometimes the first time in their life, but it's also doing it in a much more economical way than the drug system is. That basically we have this pharmaceutical oligarchy that kind of runs healthcare throughout the world, and we are deviating from that, which is obviously making some people unhappy. If you know patients or people that you think could benefit, please send them our way. We'd love to help them. And additionally, we're right now doing a funding push so that we can expand the company, if that interests you as well. If you're interested in having a...
Yeah, and that's something to keep in mind. Like, a lot of people, I think, sometimes will criticize Shawn Baker for the fact that he started this practice. But you have to remember, there are a lot of people that are wanting to try to get better, but they're really messed up. Like, they've got some really bad illnesses and they're on 47 different medications. You need a doctor's help to fix that. Like, you can't just start cold turkey going off of SSRIs or some of these other drugs. That's dangerous. So you need a doctor sometimes. Some of these people, especially these people that are very sick and they want to try this, they need guidance from professionals because, especially if they're getting off of, blood pressure medications and things like that, you have to do it carefully and under a lot of monitoring. So I haven't been sick in 3 years. I started the carnivore diet 3 years ago. I guess it's just a coincidence, right? Probably. No, it's not. And sometimes you need a physician, and it's nice to see that there's a practice that has physicians that are not going to just use their prescription pad, that they're actually taking all of the things that we talk about, all of the diet and nutrition stuff, and put it to work to heal people. That's what physicians are supposed to heal people. That's the goal. not mitigate symptoms and write prescriptions. So it's really good what he's doing. So if you can support him, if you would like to, and you like what he's doing, just even sharing the videos and letting people know, especially people who are in the medical industrial complex, like really sick and dependent, this would help them a lot. So
stake ownership in what we're doing. Check it out, via our Republic campaign that'll be going on for the next period of time until we sell it out. So we need the support to continue to get this message out there. This is something that is going to take all of us doing in order to make the difference that we want to make. It's not going to come from the government. It's not going to come from, some of these, health companies and corporations, which again, their reason that they're existing there is basically to profit off of your illness. I get it.
All right, so that's the message from our carnivore daddy, I like to call him, though I believe he is the actual founder of this whole movement. So the second video I want to show you is by Mikhaila Peterson, and it's about her father. It's a health update about her father, Jordan Peterson, who I did not even know was sick. I don't follow him closely, so I had no idea that he was in this type of condition. And it's very serious, very serious. And the reason I think this is going to be impactful in our community is because Jordan Peterson is a carnivore. And he has been for a long time. He cured a lot of his health conditions with the carnivore diet. So this matters to us, and this will have impact on our community. So let's just take a listen to what she has to say. Even though it shouldn't, okay? It shouldn't have an impact on our community, but it will, because the people who hate the carnivore diet and the people who are on an anti-meat agenda will use whatever they can to actually come after this diet. So let's just listen.
I have an update on my dad. I'm actually just going to read this. It's on my teleprompter because this is too hard to explain off the cuff, so I wrote it out. This summer has been exceedingly difficult. Dad was in an ICU suffering from pneumonia and sepsis after dealing with a host of neurological issues this summer that we believe stem from CIRS, which is chronic inflammatory response syndrome due to decades of mold exposure. We don't have a better explanation for his neurological symptoms at the moment other than spiritual attacks. He's been suffering for the last number of years with unexplainable neuropathy and weakness, amongst other symptoms, but they worsened this summer after he cleaned out his parents' basement after his dad, my grandpa, passed away. We weren't able to communicate with Dad really all of September. During the end of the pneumonia, he was diagnosed with...
That's very disturbing. They were not able to communicate with him during the month of September. That is crazy. I had no idea he was that ill.
Critical illness polyneuropathy, which we're hoping is critical illness myopathy, which is bad enough. That's been heartbreaking and brutal on top of everything else. But after almost a month in the ICU, he's been moved out to a less urgent floor. Praise God for that. We're still in the midst of this, but now we're seeing improvements daily. The timeline for his full recovery is hard to tell at the moment, and I'll update everyone when we have more information. My family's asking for prayers. Like I said, this summer's been exceedingly difficult and terrifying. Dad's condition is complicated by the fact he can't take most medications without suffering from severe paradoxical reactions, which limits treatment options. Like I mentioned, I believe there's a spiritual element at play here. I think a lot of people have felt it in the last few weeks and months. It's been hitting my dad and my family hard this summer. In August, the day Dad was brought to a hospital by ambulance, my newborn Audrey was also brought to a hospital by ambulance within hours of each other. It was unbelievable. This was the second time this summer we had brought Audrey to the hospital after she almost died from near heart failure at 6 weeks old. That is exceedingly rare, and they couldn't find a cause for. She was diagnosed with idiopathic pulmonary hypertension, which seems to have resolved, praise God. But it's not something that happens. This was late July after Dad and I recorded some episodes of the call-in show together.
That's rough. I mean, on top of it, to have him be as sick as he is, but then have a baby go through that, I can't even imagine. Both of my kids were healthy, and I often think about whether or not, if they had some kind of, like, how I would be able to deal with it, because that's like a worst nightmare type of situation. So that's great, though, that she's doing better. This is really a lot for them to go through, and it's horrifying sounding. The whole thing, everything they're describing that he's going through is just sounds horrific. So that's terrible.
Everything went just really downhill fast after that. Every single day this summer and now fall has been like watching a movie. Our family's relying heavily on the Lord through this and seeing miracles around us. We are. And I'm also aware that God uses everything for good. So eventually we'll see why this is happening or what comes of it. But Mom and I in particular really wanted to reach out and ask for prayers to help everyone get through this, especially for my dad and for my mom, but also for the nurses and doctors taking care of him, my brother, and family and friends who have come to support us. I miss my dad. My brother misses his dad. My mom misses her best friend and husband.
Oh. It's going to make me water up. That's terrible.
Oh, man. I thought I wasn't going to cry during this.
I feel so bad for her. Yeah, I can see why she wouldn't be able to get through that.
Well, he's hopefully recovering. And like I said, I'll keep people updated. He has a team of people, including myself, continuing his mission, including Peterson Academy, and will be releasing his We Who Wrestle with God tour to everyone on YouTube, which he's wanted to do for a long time. And given we think there's a spiritual element at play here, we believe the right way to fight back is to keep going and push harder, if anything. Life isn't necessarily supposed to get easier when you're doing the right thing. And I can see God's hand throughout this, but it's a lot.
When that goes back to the whole flack thing, when you're over the target, you get a lot of flack. So, and regardless of what you think of, Jordan Peterson, or his views, this is horrible, so I don't know. It's a lot of people are in camps and they can't really, I don't know, they can't do anything unless it's in terms of what camp you're in or what side you're on. And this is really important to look at because he is a carnivore. This will be used against the carnivore diet. I will guarantee it. It will be blamed on the carnivore diet. His health will be. I will guarantee that because that's just what happens in today's world. Okay. So without any kind of evidence, without any kind of anything, and this was the only thing that actually cured a lot of his conditions. These evidently are different things. I don't know exactly. I mean, when I'm listening to her, it's not the things that he talked about before that he cured. This is something different altogether. So who knows what the source is? People get sick. You still get ill, It's, a lot of people, even when you go carnivore, you kind of feel like you get so used to not being sick or you get so used to feeling better that you don't realize there's a lot of things out there that can still harm you, that can still make you ill. So, obviously it doesn't make you immortal, but it's really terrible to hear all this.
To handle. My family agreed or wanted to delay updating everybody because a lot has happened over the last few months. And we were hoping he would recover faster and we would see bigger improvements sooner and have better news. And it was really a near-death experience for a long time. So we've been just dealing with this one day at a time. We still are. It's been overwhelming, but it looks like, and we're praying that things are headed in the right direction. He's out of the ICU. So that's the main thing. He's out of the ICU. Like I said, praise God for that. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for the prayers. Thank you to everybody who's reached out. I'll be back on YouTube maybe in the next month or so, depending on how things go. Yeah, that's the update. Thanks, guys.
So why did I put these two videos together? Well, because the first one is how a carnivore doctor is declared public enemy number 1. The second one is about how a very prominent and famous carnivore just got so sick he was in the ICU and has mysterious problems that they can't identify. So if you think the people who are in the first video that are gunning for Shawn Baker are not going to use this issue with Jordan Peterson, a famous carnivore, to their advantage, again, that would be naive. So I fully expect, especially since his conditions are mysterious and they can't figure out really what's causing it. So this gives the perfect situation for the anti-meat agenda people to demonize the carnivore diet. Regardless if it has nothing to do with it, they're going to use this to their advantage. I can guarantee you that. So be aware that the landscape is changing somewhat. Now, what are my thoughts on all of this is that I believe they're coming for us, for sure. The carnivores, the people who eat clean, the people who don't want to take part in big food. I think that they're definitely coming for the people who are strictly meat. It's like being a religious heretic, because the agendas, the political agendas of the day are more like religions now. So we are the scourge that they have to get rid of, as far as like they need us to stop talking about this because it's hurting, and it's all comes down to money and greed and corporations and everything. I always said that right now we might be a gnat, but then eventually we might turn into a fly. And then eventually we're going to be like a bat or something. So we become more and more of a nuisance as time goes by because our numbers are growing. So again, I'm not doing a hair on fire, running around the building screaming type of thing. But I'm very, very, very concerned about some of this, especially the demonization of Shawn Baker when he's helping so many people. It's wrong on a moral level. And the fact that they're calling for jail for him, that's just nuts. That's crazy. So the material in this video is extremely contentious, probably. And there's a lot of thoughts on this, I'm sure. Let me know in the comments section below what you think of all of this, what you think of Jordan Peterson's situation, what you think of the Shawn Baker demonization campaign, and just share what your opinions are on this, because I'll be very interested to hear this. Again, thank you guys for watching, and if you could hit the like if you did like this video, and if you want to subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Show up and make a statement.